If you weren't about to hear one of the most insightful conversations you will be a party to all year, this would sound like the setup for a bad joke. A Muslim, a Jew, and an evangelical walk into a tech summit together to save the internet. And that is, in fact, what is about to happen. Mona Hamdy, Johnnie Moore, and Glen Weyl are all eminent leaders in their fields, and earlier this year they partnered on a groundbreaking examination of the intersection of faith and technology as part of the Digitalist Papers, a project organized by Stanford with the support of Project Liberty. They bring unique perspective on why we need a tech stack that is more aligned with our value stack. Please join me in welcoming them to the stage.
Well, that was an intro.
Yeah, well, you know,
No
I think
Mona
Mona and I
play it to myself like in the morning.
I think Mona and I spent more time talking about the title of this session than anything else. And I think Tamai could give us the best title in the end. It should just be a Muslim, a Jew, and a Christian walk into a tech conference. So,
Enough said.
So
Summit's over.
the first question I've got for you guys is, what on earth would possess you to turn yourself into a joke the way that we're turning ourselves into a joke by being up here? So, like, why do faith leaders need to be part of this conversation about technology?
Oh, okay. If you have a cell phone in your hand or you're looking at a device, give me 2 minutes of your life and put it down. I know it's hard, it's weird, it's an extension of your neural network. Give me that. Now, if you have use of both of your hands, give me this. Spend some time feeling the friction, feeling your body come alive. This is a little qigong, the energy rising, a little bit of the heat, and then cover your eyes. I'll mind the time as we sit with Mr. Rogers' idea about thinking about someone who's helped you become who you are today. Someone who's been in your camp, someone who's been on your side, and who would be very proud of the person that you've become or are trying to become. And if you can't think of someone, maybe it's yourself. And if you can't find that, maybe something good that happened to you today. Take 15 seconds of your life, I'll mind the time, and send that person or experience a breath of thanks. Okay. Do you feel a little different? Yeah. Is Reverend Marion in the room with us? Reverend is working on a profound study that talks about the physiological and psychological and organic imprint of faith, about the neural bath that you swim in when you experience moments of community and communion and gratitude. Now think about that versus the feelings that maybe you've had over the past day or two or an election or the past year. Does it feel different? Yeah. That's what I think the faith community might be able to bring to the technological and technical experience, that feeling. So that's where I think there might be a beginning.
How about you, Johnny?
This always happens, by the way. Mona gives the most profound, and then she turns it over to the Reverend to try to say something. And
it's my red lipstick. I went with red today. I won't do it next time, I promise.
What we just experienced is what countless millions of people around the world, whether they're institutionally religious or have some kind of spiritual practice, what they experience on a regular basis in the chaos of this world that we're living in. And even if that isn't something that appeals to you, or it's not something that you're inclined to think positively about, then you should just, as a practical matter, care about it. I mean, the world is becoming more religious, not less religious. By 2015, only 13% of the world will be religiously unaffiliated. The countries around the world that are growing the fastest are the most religious countries around the world. And so, as we move towards this moment of a technological transformation on a scale that we haven't realized, religion is going to be a part of that conversation, whether we like it or not. It's a matter of whether we welcome it in. Because whether you're religious or not, or whether you have some spiritual practice or not, or whether people in Silicon Valley or in Wall Street do, the world does. So the world that we're deciding to create together is a religious world. And we happen to believe that that can be a constructive part of the conversation.
So in that case, if it's constructive, what is it that tech people are missing about your faith traditions? What do you feel most unheard on?
Do you want to start, Reverend? I'll let you choose.
Sure, I'll start this time. So I like to, in secular space, and I'm not saying this is a secular space, I have no idea what you believe, or those that are watching what they believe, but I bet if you're a religious person, or you take these things seriously, you probably aren't as public about it in spaces like this as you are, in other spaces. And I think that religion is relevant for lots of reasons. I mean, even if you're like totally secular and you believe that these conversations shouldn't be had, I mean, there's a way of looking at religion as like collective wisdom over time. It's like compounding wisdom over the centuries. And we are constantly seeing stories about the downside of religion, the way religion can be a tool to accelerate conflict or to further polarize and divide us. But the truth is, there are as many stories, in fact, there are many, many more stories, I would argue, around the world about how religion has been the only thing that held us together at critical moments, the only thing that had the power to push over the movement that was trying to rebuild society or to change society in a positive way. And so, for whatever reason, we're reaching this time, Glenn and Mona, we talk a lot about this, where to our great surprise, the ancient battle between science and religion is sort of coming to a convergence, where the advance of science has collided with existential questions. What does it mean to be intelligent? What does it mean to be human? Who am I? What am I? What world are we going to create? What decisions are we going to... We're creators? Like, what is all of this? And the benefit of religion is we don't have to start over. We have these centuries of conversations that began in this place. But unfortunately, when it comes to religion and science, or religion and tech, or religion and all these other things, we're generally on the outside looking into the conversation.
So I have a completely different opinion.
Like you always do. No.
Because I tend to think that, and I've maybe seen this anecdotally in my own life, and perhaps over the last year, over events that have happened in a part of the world that I consider very close to home. I feel that our expression of what we might call religion, and this is, we fight and talk, or like play fight, I don't know what it is, but we do that a lot about words, about the semantics, what is the difference between faith and religion, and what is expression? And I would think that, you start talking about orthodoxy and orthopraxy and whatnot, but I think that an outward expression of your religion maybe happens more often, or you hold on to this when you're scared. At least that's been maybe my experience, or feeling that my identity has been threatened, right? And I think that might be something that's also, quite common. And also, I'm a product of the United States. I'm a 6th-generation Brooklyn, New Yorker, and a daughter of an Egyptian immigrant. I am the product of a Catholic school Jesuit, liberal arts inquiry into Martin Buber, and happened to, be a disciple of the Harvard Divinity School, and I think that we can't forget
They
also...
don't let people like me in the Harvard
That's
Divinity
not... You always say that. And I think that there's... Science, to my mind, Galileo said it best, right? Like, the God that endowed you with reason and intellect didn't intend for you to forego their use. And if any good Jesuit education talks about trivium and quadrivium, The liberal arts is a culmination. The whole person is arts and sciences. It's a philosophical and spiritual inquiry into all of the things around you in creation. And to me, that's probably religion. What I think is very worrisome is that I think that our technology is incentivized to remind us that we are very different.
That's right, yeah.
And that is where I think the danger is, because my expression of religion is quite pluralistic. My brothers, and truly my brothers and sisters on this earth, is the truest expression of what I would call, my faith-based practice of a religious teaching, if you were to allow me that. And my technology, or what my children are exposed to, seem to be incentivizing me to forget that. I've received lots of emails about how to cancel parts of my family over Thanksgiving if we are ideologically or politically different. So I would say that I would like to see conversations that talk about how to be more inclusive and how to preserve my relationships with the people that I love and the people maybe that I don't love so much.
So speaking of building those bridges, how do you think that the tech world, and in particular the tech reform movement, which I would say many people here are a part of, could work more effectively with communities that you're either a part of or are close to your hearts?
Well, I'll answer it in two ways. And the first thing I would say is most of the time we think we disagree with one another, and we actually agree on almost everything. I mean, even in the case, the conversation that we just having here, in front of
right.
all of you, I very often distinguish between interfaith work and multi-faith work.
That's right.
Okay, because the interfaith work, and it's fine, we can use terminology, but interfaith work often requires that you change who you are, that you put down your sincerely held religious beliefs or your culture or where you come from for permission to be in these mutual conversations. Multi-faith work is different. Multi-faith work says, you can come together believing what you believe, who you are, and it's a safe place to have conversations with those who may be profoundly different than you. And in our divided, polarized time, largely polarized because of social media and other things and the way we've done tech, which we're trying to fix, thank God, because of efforts like the last 2 days. In this environment, it is a superpower. It is a superpower when people who are different than one another, that come from different religions, cultures, political ideologies, you name it, when they come together for almost anything, and it gives other people permission to do so. And to your point, to your exact question, a lot of people who take faith seriously, or religion or spirituality, they're already in some of these institutions, but they're kind of in the closet. You can't be public about it in a lot of our secular spaces. Like we talk about DEI, but we exclude religious differences from
yeah, so hold on to that thought, Johnny. I'm going to come back and do a little exercise with the audience before we go to questions around that. Mona?
I think I love the idea of a faith-based coming out. I'm out. That's cool. And I'm just so deeply rooted in gratitude for being American and being able to ask. I think that sometimes just asking the questions. Ask. Have people who are from divergent beliefs or from minority populations. And in some cases, it's interesting, again, we use words like global south, underrepresented populations, but I think that talking about faith, anything in Silicon Valley, or, insert place where this technology is being created, obviously Silicon Valley, is a minority population, perhaps, or a minority expression. Just asking the question. It would be just like Kahneman and Tversky with your bias, just saying I'm prone to bias makes you less biased. Just asking the question, I think, is valuable. That is the imminent value, I think, of us writing together, which is hard, and us being here today.
So let's ask the question. Folks in the audience, if you identify with a major world religion, raise your hand.
Yeah.
Look around, compare that to statistics that you guys can all look up on your phones afterwards. After that, let me ask, of those, keep your hands up, now, keep your hand up if you feel comfortable in your workplace bringing your membership of that faith to your work in technology, let's say.
Yeah.
And I've been to some of your places, and I'll tell you what happened.
Put your hands down. No, that's okay.
An evangelical will come to me and like whisper in my ear, oh, by the way, I'm an evangelical
I
too.
love your work.
Yeah, and it's,
Wa alaikum assalam.
and I think it, it applies,
Yeah.
it's sort of sad in America, and also like it relates to democracy.
It's good to be sad about that, but it's also good to model what we can do to alleviate that sadness. Right now, those folks who lowered their hand, I would just want to say to you, this is a place where you should be proud to bring that. And so I hope someone who felt the need to lower their hand will now raise their hand and ask a question of the panel.
Any questions?
Well done, Glenn. That was very
Yeah. Anybody want to?
Or anyone else, it's fine. But yeah, go ahead.
That's right.
Did you want to respond?
So yeah, I'm 100% with you. At what point does the majority become the minority and the minority the majority? Or the other question is, who would have felt excluded by other people's expression of their faith, which is a precept of why we don't ask those things in the United States. I don't have a 45-second answer to that, but I think that's the sauce.
I would quote from Mohandas K. Gandhi, who said that anyone who thinks that religion and, he said politics, but I'll say technology, are not related to each other, doesn't know the first thing about either. And this was someone who brought religion and faith to everything he did.
Which is super cool if you're not the minority and you don't have
way.
lists. Like if you have a religious list, I would hate to be on like that religious list. Like I'm just saying, very cool for Gandhi, probably not cool for my office. True, yes. Sorry, I did that thing.
Yeah, but I also think this shows how we felt at this. Like you don't believe in religious freedom at all unless you believe in religious freedom for all. And we haven't created the space of like curiosity, like welcoming these types of conversations. And instead of like doing the hard, I'll quote a famous Jewish sage who said, "It's not up to us to complete the task, but neither are we free to desist from it. And it's time to stop not starting because we're worried it's going to be hard. Everyone in this room does hard things. And now we need faith in the conversation more than
I'll also give one last answer to that question. I would say the thing that you just said, that people expressing their religion makes people who are minorities feel excluded, I would say that is exactly what I see happening in Silicon Valley every day. Because people bring their faith in AGI, they bring their faith in, transhuman, whatever. They bring all these faiths to bear. And the most underrepresented minority are people who bring a different faith and who are excluded from being able to express that faith in the way that it shapes the priorities they have in their work. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you.